Anheuser-Busch, the beer maker conglomerate, in 1988 purchased the Cabin Bar Ranch in the Sierra Nevada to obtain underground water rights potentially useful to its Van Nuys brewery. Attached to the ranch were federal permits to graze cattle on roughly 90,000 acres within California's Golden Trout Wilderness. Throughout the 1990s, government reports revealed that these cattle were damaging wildlife habitat for populations of mule deer, songbirds, and the wilderness's namesake, the golden trout. In 1995, Todd Shuman began documenting environmental conditions in the Golden Trout Wilderness. As a Sierra Club member, he mobilized support within the club to protect the wilderness from abusive livestock grazing. He also helped to coordinate the actions of the Sierra Club with those of other environmental organizations. In this August 2003 interview, Shuman provided his perspective on the campaign that culminated in the Forest Service's decision of October 2000 to rest the Anheuser-Busch allotments for approximately 10 years.
What's most instructive about what we did in this case is, and most important, is we were able to construct an alliance of prominent fish groups and prominent national environmental groups, such as Sierra Club, Natural Resources Defense Council. I think in this case it was essential to construct this alliance in order to have an impact upon both the Forest Service and Anheuser-Busch. For me to make progress within the Sierra Club, in getting the Sierra Club to look at this issue and actually stake out some positions on this, it was important for me to form an alliance with Joe Fontaine, who has long-time respect within the Sierra Club. People who have been very active in the Sierra Club for a long time, they listen to Joe Fontaine, and so whereas they might have challenged me and been reluctant to support anything that I might have been encouraging them to adopt, they were much more willing to defer to Joe Fontaine, and that enabled the Sierra Club to establish a very strong position on what they wanted to happen in this area. Once we had that, we were then able to form a strong alliance with Trout Unlimited. Trout Unlimited is sometimes a cautious organization, but because the Sierra Club had staked out a strong position and had backed it up and documented it and was using the Forest Service's own documentation in many cases, Trout Unlimited was willing to join in an alliance with the Sierra Club to pressure the permittee and the Forest Service on this. Once that alliance had been established, California Trout was more willing to entertain taking a stronger position itself, because it saw a national environmental organization and another competitor fish organization, sometimes competitor, pressing hard on this issue. That enabled us to form an alliance in which all the fish organizations were agreed that strong actions needed to take place in this area, and that whole alliance then enabled us to bring in other environmental organizations in this effort, such as Natural Resources Defense Council. The formation of this alliance, in which groups sometimes worked together or they worked in parallel, but they were pushing for kind of strong measures, enabled us to, I think, get a victory on this. I think we needed all that kind of pressure at all these different levels to make things happen, and if we had division, we would not have been able to present the face of a serious threat to the permittee and the National Forest concerning activities up there. So I would say for the future, for any activist, if you're working within the Sierra Club, try and find some progressive-minded, respected elders who you can work with, and do your best to convince them that there's resource damage and that taking place, and that strong things need to take place, that cattle need to be reduced or removed from the area. If you can do that, you can then establish strong alliances with fish organizations. And when you have an environmental fisher Recreational Fisher, Fly Fisher Alliance, that's something that corporations pay attention to, and that's also something that the agencies pay attention to. And you can make progress in changing the status quo.